Welcome to a trip down memory lane, where we revisit the glitz and glamour of Hollywood's golden age. But not everything was as picture-perfect as it seemed. From scandals and secrets to shocking revelations, get ready to be transported back in time as we uncover the 10 questionable stories from the golden age of Hollywood. Number 10. How it all began. Once upon a time, the bustling town of Fort Lee, New Jersey was the movie capital of the film industry, and one man ruled the roost: Thomas Edison. The luminary inventor had already secured most of the patents related to motion pictures, but he wanted more. So, in 1908, he created the Motion Picture Patents Company, also known as the infamous Edison Trust. This powerful conglomerate consisted of all of the major film companies of the era, as well as the top distributor and film stock supplier. But with great power came great control. The Edison Trust enforced their strict rules on anyone who dared to screen a movie in the US. Filmmakers had to adhere to their guidelines, which meant using only pre-approved, patented equipment, keeping runtimes under 20 minutes, and foregoing film credits to avoid increasing the actor's visibility and wage demands. It was a stranglehold on creativity and innovation, but Edison held all the cards. Those who dared to challenge the Edison Trust faced dire consequences. Lawsuits were just the tip of the iceberg. Edison even stooped to hiring private detectives to intimidate and bully the competition. In one outrageous incident, the trust was rumored to have bribed a theater owner to screen William Fox's films in a brothel so they could revoke his license on immoral grounds. Thankfully, the maverick filmmakers weren't content with playing second fiddle to Edison's monopoly. They set their sights on greener pastures and found them in the sunny hills of Hollywood. With its diverse scenery and more relaxed patent laws, it became the perfect destination for independent filmmakers to flex their creative muscles and make their mark. These upstarts soon gave Edison and his trust a run for their money. By banding together and fighting back against antitrust laws, they managed to topple the Edison Trust in 1918, paving the way for Hollywood to take over as America's movie capital. Number 9. No dogs or actors allowed. Hollywood's charms were lost on the locals at first, especially the farmers who made up the majority of its population. They turned their noses up at the glitz and glamour of show business, which even back then had a notorious reputation for indulgence and excess. Signs soon popped up on boarding houses and apartments all over town, warning, "No dogs or actors allowed." Even the business community was skeptical of the fledgling film industry. Land developers and oil tycoons had no interest in dealing with movie studios, dismissing the movie colonization of Hollywood as a fleeting trend. When Carl Laemmle attempted to open Universal City Studios, he hit a brick wall trying to acquire land in Hollywood. In the end, he had to resort to building it on a converted farm in the San Fernando Valley because no one in Hollywood was willing to sell him a single acre. The attitudes of the locals changed gradually when Hollywood became the bustling center of the movie industry. This shift was partly due to individuals like Laemmle, who used the star system to publicize their films. Through the use of film credits, actors gained more exposure, and movies could be marketed based on their star power. One notable instance was Florence Lawrence, who was recognized as the first movie star. Before joining Universal, she was known only as the Biograph Girl while working in New Jersey. Other examples included King Baggett, the first male lead in Hollywood, and Mary Pickford, nicknamed America's Sweetheart. Number 8. Birth of the Hollywood Scandal. During the Roaring '20s, Hollywood actors became the most famous individuals in the world, thanks to their wealth and notoriety. This lifestyle of extravagance and abundance led to the birth of the Hollywood scandal, a popular pastime in the US that continues to this day. Many shameful events took place in the 1920s, including Charlie Chaplin's hasty trips to Mexico to wed underage actresses allegedly carrying his children. The murder of William Desmond Taylor remains unsolved to this day. However, the most significant scandal was the Fatty Arbuckle trial, which permanently destroyed the career of Hollywood's biggest moneymaker. The first Hollywood scandal is now mostly forgotten, but it involved Jack Pickford and Olive Thomas. Jack, the brother of Mary Pickford, had a wholesome image as the boy next door, despite being a heavy drinker and womanizer. Olive was a former Ziegfeld girl who worked in racy burlesque shows before achieving success in movies. After World War I, Pickford's reputation was tarnished when he was implicated in a scheme where wealthy young men paid off military officers for safe, comfortable positions. He was nearly dishonorably discharged, but was reportedly saved by his sister's intervention. In 1920, Olive Thomas died after ingesting mercury bichloride, a medication her husband was taking to treat syphilis sores. While her death was deemed accidental, rumors swirled that she may have committed suicide or been murdered. Number 7. The booze and the drugs. In the 1920s, while the majority of the U.S. was abstaining from alcohol, Hollywood had different rules. Despite supporting prohibition openly and portraying bars and saloons as violent places for shady characters in movies, the entertainment industry had a vested interest in getting people to trade in a night out drinking for a night at the movie theater. However, many actors indulged in drugs and alcohol behind closed doors. It was during this decade that the Hollywood lifestyle developed in its entirety. It didn't take long for the consequences of the Hollywood lifestyle to become apparent. Newspapers were filled with stories of actors being admitted to sanitariums to treat various illnesses resulting from their habits, and most of the time, these problems proved fatal. For instance, in 1923, Wallace Reed, the screen's most perfect lover, died in a sanitarium while battling a morphine addiction. Barbara Lamar passed away a few years later from nephritis and tuberculosis, both of which were caused by years of drug and alcohol abuse. In 1929, Jean Eagles died from a drug overdose at the peak of her career, becoming the first actor to receive a posthumous Oscar nomination. Number 6. Welcome to Hollywoodland. The Hollywood sign is a true LA icon, but its history is more surprising than you might think. Originally, the sign wasn't meant to represent Hollywood's movie industry or celebrity culture, but rather to advertise a new housing development called Hollywoodland. Equipped with flashy lights to last just a year and a half, the sign was only intended to be a temporary fixture. However, due to its unexpected popularity, it stayed put and eventually came under the purview of the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce in 1949. Unfortunately, the sign's life hasn't been all sunshine and rainbows. It has faced severe deterioration over the years and required multiple restorations. Additionally, the sign has been the target of multiple vandals who've pulled off creative stunts like changing the letters to spell out Hollyweed or Hollywood. Despite these challenges, the Hollywood sign remains a beloved symbol of Los Angeles and the entertainment industry. On September 16, 1932, the sign's history took a dark turn when Peg Entwistle, a young and aspiring actress, tragically leaped to her death from the H. Her passing captured the public's attention, with newspapers speculating that her acting career had been the cause. However, contemporary historians suggest that depression may have played a more significant role. As the story goes, a rumor spread that a letter was found in her mailbox, informing Peg that she had landed the lead role in a play about a suicidal woman, adding a haunting layer to her already tragic end. Number 5. The first Hollywood blockbuster. In 1915, Hollywood witnessed the release of its very first blockbuster, The Birth of a Nation, crafted by none other than D.W. Griffith. Critics went into a frenzy of excitement, proclaiming it as a masterpiece. Griffith was lauded for his pioneering cinematic techniques that set the standard for the industry for decades. The masses flocked to see it, smashing all box office records and holding the title of highest-grossing movie for almost a quarter century, until Gone with the Wind dethroned it. To top it off, The Birth of a Nation became the first movie to be screened at the White House. But amidst all the glitz and glamour, the film remains a source of controversy for Hollywood due to its overtly racist themes that continue to stir up outrage to this day. When The Birth of a Nation hit the silver screen in 1915, it clocked in at a whopping 3 hours long, making it the lengthiest movie ever made at the time. The epic tale depicted the American Civil War and the aftermath of the country's Reconstruction. However, the film's infamy arose from its crude depiction of Black people, painting them in an entirely negative light, while casting the Ku Klux Klan as the saviors on more than one occasion. Although Griffith pioneered the golden age of Hollywood, he did so at the cost of the African American community, who were left playing supporting roles, often as subservient characters or as sources of comedic relief for years to come. Above all, a large portion of the population attributed the upsurge in Ku Klux Klan membership to the success of The Birth of a Nation. The movie's widespread appeal was believed to have fueled renewed interest in the group, with many regarding it as the most influential recruitment tool in the KKK's history. Shockingly, when Dick Lair, an investigative journalist, infiltrated the KKK in the 1970s, he found that the film still held value as propaganda to lure in new members. Number 4. Studios and their actors. During the golden age of Hollywood, the studio system reigned supreme, dictating that actors sign lengthy contracts with a single studio. Unlike present-day performers who have the liberty to select their preferred roles, actors from that era were bound to film the movies that the studio demanded, with little authority over their professional lives. As time progressed, studio executives began to perceive actors as mere money-making machines, exploiting them to their full capacity and subsequently discarding them. In an attempt to maximize their stars' marketability, studios wielded significant control over their lives, influencing nearly all significant decisions. Child actors had it particularly rough under the studio system. Studios appointed chaperones to supervise their every move, primarily for spying purposes. The infamous case of Judy Garland is a testament to this, as the studio imposed a strict diet consisting solely of soup, coffee, and cigarettes to maintain her slim physique. Moreover, Garland was regularly administered amphetamines and barbiturates to endure long working days. The story of Mickey Rooney, another child actor, sheds light on the extent to which the studios controlled the lives of their stars, even into adulthood. Studio head Louis B. Mayer prevented Rooney from marrying Ava Gardner to uphold his wholesome image, a common practice at the time. Female sex symbols, like Jean Harlow, were similarly prohibited from marrying to protect their status. Conversely, gay actors such as Rock Hudson were expected to remain closeted and partake in arranged marriages to preserve their marketability. Unapproved children were out of the question, and pregnant actresses were compelled to undergo secret abortions. Harry Kahn, the president of Columbia Pictures, was known for his extreme abuse of power within the studio system. One notorious example of this occurred when Cohn prevented an interracial marriage between his star actress Kim Novak and Sammy Davis Jr. To do so, he allegedly utilized his connections to the mob to threaten Davis with physical harm, including crippling and blindness. Under duress, Davis was given a mere 24 hours to marry any black singer, a move that would dispel any rumors of a relationship between him and Novak. Number 3. Hollywood and Hitler. In an effort to appeal to foreign markets, Hollywood has a history of censoring and even reshooting entire scenes of movies. This practice has become particularly prevalent with films released in China. However, during the 1930s, Hollywood was more concerned with appeasing Nazi Germany, which was seen as a highly profitable market. In recent years, several books have shed light on these practices, with Harvard scholar Ben Irwand making particularly damning allegations. Irwand claims that Hollywood not only collaborated with Germany, but also went out of its way to portray Nazis in a favorable, or at least neutral light, while simultaneously downplaying the contributions of Jewish cast and crew members. The revelations are a stark reminder of Hollywood's willingness to compromise its values for the sake of profit. George Gisling, a German diplomat stationed in LA, had immense power over Hollywood during the 1930s. Known as, quote, Hitler's Hollywood consul, he used threats and intimidation to influence U.S. studios to comply with Nazi Germany's censorship demands. He had the backing of Joseph Breen, a notorious film censor and anti-Semite, who enforced the strict Hays Code. One of the first movies to receive special treatment was the 1930 war film All Quiet on the Western Front. The film was edited to portray Germans in a more positive light, as per the orders of Universal Studios head Carl Laemmle. These revelations come from several books published in recent years, including one by Harvard scholar Ben Irwand. Number 2. The Blacklist. During the 1940s and 50s, the U.S. was swept by a wave of anti-communist hysteria known as the Second Red Scare, which spread across all aspects of American society, including Hollywood. Actors, directors, and screenwriters who were suspected of having communist sympathies were blacklisted and subjected to persecution, social ostracism, and even imprisonment. While movie studios were willing to turn a blind eye to Nazi sympathies, they were less tolerant of those who expressed support for communism. The fear of communism in Hollywood began to fester in the late 1930s when the House Un-American Activities Committee, HUAC chairman Martin Dies, published a report claiming that communist ideology was pervasive in the film industry. This report was a wake-up call for many studio executives who were eager to distance themselves from any association with communism. However, not all studio heads saw communism as a threat to be feared. Some viewed it as an opportunity to deflect blame for their own problems. For instance, Walt Disney famously blamed the animator strike at his studio in 1941 on communist agitation. In doing so, Disney helped to fuel this hysteria that was sweeping the country and contributed to the blacklisting of many Hollywood figures who were suspected of having communist sympathies. Those who were summoned to testify before the HUAC faced a tough choice: cooperate or risk being labeled a communist sympathizer. This culture of betrayal and suspicion was fueled by Billy Wilkerson, the publisher of The Hollywood Reporter, who launched his own column in 1946 called Billy's List, where he named people suspected of having communist leanings. One of the most talented members of the Hollywood 10 was Dalton Trumbo, who had won 2 Academy Awards for his screenplays of Roman Holiday and The Brave One. Despite his undeniable talent, Trumbo was forced to work under an alias during the Blacklist era, which robbed him of the recognition and respect he deserved. The Hollywood Blacklist was a dark chapter in the history of the film industry, where suspicion and betrayal reigned supreme, and many talented individuals were unfairly persecuted and punished for their political beliefs. However, the courage and resilience of the Hollywood 10 serve as a testament to the power of the First Amendment and the importance of standing up for what is right, even when it is difficult or unpopular. Number 1. The mob comes to Hollywood. Hollywood was a land of glitz and glamour, but it also harbored a darker side of mayhem and mischief. As Los Angeles bloomed into one of America's largest cities, it was only a matter of time before the mafia saw an opportunity to sink their claws into the action. The Los Angeles crime family had been lurking in the shadows since the turn of the 20th century, but it wasn't until the 1940s that they reached their zenith under the guidance of the notorious Jack Dragna, who even snagged a coveted spot on the commission. But Dragna's reign wasn't to go unchallenged. Bugsy Siegel, despite being of Jewish descent, had firm ties to the New York families and soon set his sights on LA. With his income streams flowing in, Bugsy was practically untouchable. He also embraced Hollywood, making appearances at some of the city's most lavish soirees in Beverly Hills, where he mingled with the elite and hobnobbed with Hollywood's most illustrious stars. Following Siegel's assassination in 1947, his trusted lieutenant Mickey Cohen took over his operation. However, unlike Siegel, Cohen was not interested in collaborating peacefully with Dragna, and a brutal gang war ensued. Despite surviving 11 attempts on his life, Cohen relished his public notoriety, taking inspiration from the legendary Al Capone. But Cohen's most infamous moment arrived when his enforcer, Johnny Stoppanato, was stabbed to death by the daughter of his lover, actress Lana Turner. Can you believe the outrageous stories we've uncovered from Hollywood's golden age? It's fascinating to see how the entertainment industry's glittering exterior often hid some dark and disturbing secrets. All right, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.